Hi, it's Derryn from Art by Derryn, welcoming you to ArtStart Handmade Christmas cards. Let's get started. Our first card here, I'm just going to start sketching out a loose triangle shape in the shape of a Christmas tree. Now we'll grab a piece of tracing paper and we're going to draw around our card so we get the exact size, and I'm measuring here so that I can get my triangle to sort of look good inside that size card. We need these measurements for another couple of other cards as well, so please do it if you're going to do this. Watch the video right to the end and you'll see. Now I changed the words here and you can see how I've spaced them out so they go right up to the edge of the triangle, and that will give us that look like it's a Christmas tree. Now to put them onto the peel and stick, we need to turn the tracing paper over because it's going to be a stamp. So we need it to be backwards, and we're pushing on really firmly with a pen. You could do this with a ballpoint that's run out. By pushing it on like that, you can see that the graphite's left behind as well, and then you can just trace over the top, pushing really firmly so that it indents so that you'll get that print when we go to print that out. And we'll cut that out, and I'm just going to stick it onto another piece of foam just to give me a bit of cushioning in my stamp. And we're just going to put this stamp aside for the moment. We'll go on to number 2. So I've cut a piece of card the same size as the front of my card. Got our tracing again, and I'm just using that to form my triangle. I don't know if you've cut out like this before on a cutting mat like this, but to get from one point to another, if you start in the middle and then go out to the edges and back, then you'll get a clean cut like that. I'll grab our Artistico watercolour paper. This is a rough, it's got quite a texture on it. And we're going to cut out a piece just a little bit smaller than our card that we want to set it onto. So I'm just tearing the watercolour paper. If you pull the watercolour paper towards you, you'll get that nice deckled edge with it. Then we'll stick it down with a little bit of blue tape. You can see this is my watercolour pad. I just wanted to show you it's a lot bigger. I don't normally work on a little piece of paper like this, but I thought it was good for you to see colour and just how small amounts that you need. Now this is a rigger brush, and I'm showing you here the pattern that I'm making backwards and forwards using these 3 colours. We're sort of getting that like garland look, and we'll be painting it inside our tree. I saw this first, I think it was an art tutor. Sorry, I can't remember the artist's name, but so we're just putting some water inside the tree shape, and I did that crisscrossing backwards and forwards with the rigger brush. That's what we're using. So I'm just dropping in small amounts of colour. I've watered the colour down so that we get that lovely watercolour look with it. I'm dropping in strong colour and watered down colour as well. In all the colours there. This is cobalt violet, we've got French ultramarine blue, and quatacridone red as well. Sorry, quatacridone magenta. And you can see once I lift this up, ta-da, we have a beautiful little tree shape. Now I'm just using the French ultramarine blue just to get the shape, but I want to show you the difference when I use a different type of brush, how easy it is to paint a straight line and to drop in different colours there to make our tree base. Now you can use any 3 colours that you like that are next to each other on the colour wheel. If you want some more information on colour and colour wheels, go to my website and I've got a free video there for you as well. So I've just grabbed a star-shaped brad and I'm putting that on the top of my Christmas tree, and then just using the tape to attach that to my card. This is what it looks like when it's dry. Now we're off on number 3. So we're going to grab another colour. This is lemon yellow, and we're going to work on the side of our watercolour paper there, and just dropping the yellow, the red, the magenta, the violet and the blue, running it down the side so it kind of looks like it's half a Christmas tree, but it's our rainbow Christmas tree. And then again painting a little half little half tree pot down the bottom there. Now I'll just try to start to see if I'd like that. Not particularly. Now I think you'll notice by the magic of television that I've let this dry. Now I'm picking up the Quadacridone Magenta. I'm just making little circle shapes and leaving a square on each of the right sides just to give the impression that they're shining little baubles. So I thought I'd start with 3, but no, let's keep going. It's always good to make odd numbers in your paintings of objects, so 3, 5, 7, 9, things like that. Now we'll let these dry as well, and we'll just grab a fine line marker and just draw little squares on top of our baubles, and then like a little hook over the top of the branches in inverted commas, and just going around the outside of our pot as well there. Now I've just got some stamps. This is from a set from Do Crafts, just says Happy Holidays, and just sticking that on with some ink, which is, you know, permanent ink. What the hell's it called? Stays on. Jeez. And just attaching it to our card as well. Now for our 4th card, we're going to take that triangle that we cut out of our card earlier on. We're going to use that as a mask, and we're going to just pick up very small amounts of colour because we're going for this really watery watercolour look. So the yellow will mix with the blue, and we'll get some greens there, and yellow will mix with red and get some orange, but just really lightly tapping the brush there just to get some little spotty looks as well. Looks a bit of a mess, but it will come together, I'm sure. I know it does. There we go. There's our little Christmas tree triangle shape again. Now I'm just folding this in half. This is another way that you can make your cards. You can just make it out of watercolour paper if you like. It's a little bit cheaper if you cut it out, but you can do your cards this way as well. I just used one of my other cards as for the sizing yet again, so that it will fit in the envelopes that I have. And there we go. So that I don't really like those little dots, so I'm just adding a little bit of water just to blend them out a little bit so they're not quite so harsh. Writing inside with a pencil, Merry and Bright. Now if you use your fine liner to start with, then you can erase your pencil marks and then just use a thicker one. I'm not very good with this whole calligraphy. I tend to just do it in my own handwriting and then thicken the downward strokes to get that kind of look. So it's not the best, but it's mine, so it's okay. Just putting a little hole in the top there for another Brad as well. And you can see when you work, well, I'm a bit of a messy painter, let's face it. I've got paint all over the inside of my card, so a way to get around that is just to get a piece of white paper or coloured paper, whatever you like, and put that on the inside of the card. And that will just cover up all that mess as well. Now for number 5, bit of a change of pace with our music. Just using some wire. This is a 0.38 gold wire. I've already wrapped a couple of the to start with. You just wrap it around 2 fingers, 3 fingers, and then 4 fingers to get the different sizes, and then crossing it over to form an infinity symbol or an 8, however you look at it, and wrapping that wire around the middle to fasten it in place. And I'm just grabbing my wire cutters and just trimming that really close to there. It actually stays in place, this one, pretty well. And grabbing the dreaded hot glue gun. I don't know about you guys, but every time I burn myself with this bloody thing. Not to worry. So grabbing our card, just going straight on the front of the card. Now you could put this on front of a piece of watercolour paper if you'd like. I'm just putting a little bit of glue on there, sticking it on, cutting the back off my star and sticking that on. Well, trying to, so I burn myself. So I decided to put the glue down on the paper and then put the star on top. Now I looked at it for a little bit of a while, had a little fiddle, sort of loosen up the wires, and then I decided I wanted to put a little saying down the bottom, so I just tried out these two different ones. Can't remember where I got these from. Just saying with love. And then I looked at it and thought, I don't like the bottom of that, so I made the tree bucket a little bit bigger just by cutting some bamboo skewers with my wire cutters. Now you can do this same kind of technique with string, with wool, with embroidery floss, anything like that will make a pretty card as well. Just balance your colours out. Alright, on to number 6. So we've got our little triangle cut out again. Just showing you this to show you one way of doing this. You could put all your scrapbook pieces of paper that I've just cut into strips behind that, and then you could glue that onto the front of the card, like trim off the edges and glue that on. What I'm actually going to do is make a loose tree shape myself by using these old scrapbook papers. You could do this also with washi tape. Wouldn't give you quite the same on the ends, but you could get a similar kind of look. So I'm just sort of arranging them in a pleasing way, putting a tiny drop of hot glue down on the middle of the papers because I want the ends to sort of stick up a little bit. Popping that star on top, thinking, oh no, it needs a little bit more. Trying a few different things. I went, no, let's put a little saying in there as well, so for forgiving, and a little tree bucket. You can see here on the edge I'm just trimming the ends so they're sort of pointed towards the top, and there's our little Christmas tree. Now on to number 7. So here we're going to grab a napkin, and you can see I've just torn it out and I'm using Yes Paste to attach this. This stuff is wonderful for paper. Watch how cleanly and easily this tissue paper goes down. It's fantastic for sticking paper. Here I've just put a little bit of embossing powder around the edge of that, and I'm going to heat that up with my embossing gun. Now you might have noticed I ripped the top of the R out there, so I've just decided to put a little star in there, and oh look, isn't that pretty? Happy accident. Not really sure if I like this card, but I just wanted to show you another technique that you can use. Just be aware when you're using embossing powder that you can't hold your gun too long in the one spot, or you'll get a little brown spot like that with glue. So I just popped a little bit more glue and a little bit more embossing powder over that to make this very simple Christmas card. So you could grab any napkin, just make sure all the plies are separated out, and we're on to number 8. So we've got a piece of watercolour paper again, and I'm just using some masking tape. This was just the bits that I had out before, and I'm just making a tree shape going up and off my card. So you can see it's a little bit wider down the bottom and it narrows it. We're going to paint some birch trees in this one. Some Christmas birch trees. Now you can see with all those little pieces of paper, it was taking forever. So if you just grab a piece of masking tape and just tear it, you'll get that sort of tree shape. I've put 3 in there, and then I'm going to use a colour called kunzite. This is a crystal colour. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it. So it's a new colour of mine. I just wanted to try it out, so I thought I'd try it on this one. So we're just going to paint a little bit around, using a lot of water, around the bottom of the trees, and I'm painting where their shadows would be, and then sort of like a little bit of brush just around it. Then in the above halfway, so sort of 2/3 of the way up, we're going to put our line of other trees. Now you can see here I'm painting darker at the bottom and lighter towards the top. The blue will give us the sense of depth, and the darker colour towards the bottom will give us the sense that, you know, there's shadow there for the trees. And I've also put a little bit up in the sky. I don't know where that clip went. So grabbing some ink now and a different brush. This is a rigger brush, but it's a shorter one, which I find it's easier to control. And you can see here on the paper's doing all the work for us. I'm just putting some ink on my brush, wiping most of it off on the paper, and then just making these tree, well, it's actually where the branches grow on the birch trees. They have these dark shapes. Now I saw this one first, this kind of technique on Artist Network. You can check out the lady there. I think her name was Barbara somebody. Sorry, I'm really bad at remembering names. But I made this my own by making it a Christmas theme. So with birch trees and these little branches, you've just got to be confident. The branches come out of where the dark parts are on the tree, and you've just got to go for it. Now if you're really worried, grab your fine liner pen. You can use that as well. It won't give you quite the same mark, but you can use that to make these kinds of marks as well. I've drawn that little hanger over that branch again, and I'm just grabbing the red and doing that same technique that we used on the other one to make a little bauble. And voila, we have Christmas trees, Christmas birch trees. And on this one, I'm just putting the deckled edge on the top and bottom, and then using glue tape and sticking it to my card. So there's our birch trees. Alright, back to our stamp that we created in the beginning. I'm using a blue distress ink here and putting it onto some watercolour paper, and so you can see there we've got all this kind of texture from the paper. Just using a little bit of water just to spread that out, trying to redefine the E. I think what I would do is go in on this a little bit heavier with the pen again. Now you can see if you just put water on it, it doesn't really work with a watercolour technique. I also did that so I could clean off the ink because I wanted to use a Stays On ink, which is a black permanent ink. So there's those two. Again, just putting our little Brad in the top with it's a theme with me today, trees and stars. Reminding me of when my daughter used to put the star on the top of the Christmas tree every year. And there's our number one tree. Alright, time for a bonus. So while I was cleaning up, I saw this packing paper, and I'm sure you've all had something delivered in a packing paper like this, and I thought, what the hell am I going to use this for? Well, I fiddled with it for a bit, and voila, we have another sort of tree. So you've really got to get it in the right direction with the openings pointing down so that it will sort of pull apart properly. I just put some glue on my card in the same sort of size, using that mask again to help me work out where to put it. And then I'm using the end of the paintbrush here to just push it down into the glue, making sure it sticks in there and just sort of separating a little bit. Cutting the back off the Brad with my wire cutters and gluing that on. Now I used the hot glue gun again. Oh no, see those fingers? See, I've got band-aids everywhere. Hot glue gun. I hate the bloody thing. But it is fantastic to use for these kinds of projects. Now I also had some hessian ribbon out, I should say. So I thought, I wonder what I could do with this. And this is the thing, when you're making your cards, look what you've got around your house. See what you've got, any fabric, any unusual textured papers, or garbage, whatever you've got, you'll probably be able to make some form of Christmas card out, especially these trees. That's why I've done this pattern, because it is so simple to make. Just making this triangle. Now here you see it wasn't quite long enough, so I made it intentional and cut it all into pieces so it looks like every piece was supposed to have that line in it. Then I grabbed some baker's twine and just put our little oh my goodness, what are they called? It's left my brain. My brain doesn't work anymore. Garland? Yes, let's call it garland. And then I made a little gold star out of some gold wire that was sitting on my desk as well. So there's our card made out of some hessian ribbon, baker's twine, gold wire, and out of some recycled paper. So let's take another quick look at our cards. There's our napkin, our wire, watercolour and scrapbook papers, using our stamps that we made, plus our own little bit of creativity. And if you enjoyed making Christmas cards with me, please give it a thumbs up, a like, please share it. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. It would really help me, help my channel to get shown to more like-minded people like you. And join me next week. I'll be making some Christmas decorations out of hessian, I think I'm going to make a wreath and garlands and all sorts of things. So come along and join me for that. And remember to get your art started with ArtStart. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.